Hello friends! If you click this video, you might be asking the question, what is Formula 1? Formula 1 is where you see the fastest cars in the world, going in circles for 1 to 2 hours, and then Max Verstappen wins. And then you're stuck with Dutch national anthem in your head for the rest of your life.
No, come on, stop this shit.
Today I'm going to talk about 10 things you need to know before watching a Formula 1 race. I like to think of F1 team like an orchestra. Everyone has to perform their role well in order to achieve harmony. Before we dive into today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you never miss out. Back to the video. Team setup. Currently, there are 10 teams in Formula 1. Each team has 2 drivers and a few reserve drivers who sometimes get a chance to drive an F1 car when someone is sick or hurt. When people talk about engineers, they're generally referring to the trackside engineers who sit in front of monitors and check analytics. They are mostly the people who give commands to drivers on how they should carry out the strategy. They are supposed to be the brains of the drivers, unless you're Ferrari.
Stay out.
Hey, stop! Late now!
Where engineers make questionable calls and the drivers are just doing their own strategies.
Drivers here.
The science is trying to give Norris DRS.
The team principal oversees the team's broader strategy. In basketball terms, they're kind of similar to the head coaches. In F1, they sometimes get as much screen time and attention, if not more, than the drivers. The dramas around team principals also trigger speculation on how the team might perform. F1 is truly a team sport that a good driver, strategy, and fast cars must go hand in hand to succeed. Race week. Generally, a race week is from Friday to Sunday, with a few exceptions like Bahrain Grand Prix. Friday is free practice, when drivers and teams get to test the cars, get data, and get a feel of who's fast. Saturday is qualifying, or quali. Qualifying is sometimes more exciting than the actual races. Qualifying determines the starting positions for race day based on drivers' fastest laps. The starting positions and the qualifying results are especially important for the tracks that are difficult to overtake. There are 3 segments in quali, starting from Q1, Q2, then Q3. Each segment eliminates 5 drivers, until Q3, when the fastest 10 compete for the top 10 starting positions. Pole position is what we call a first place, and for the rest, we like to call it P2, P3, P4, and so on. Sprint. Sprint is the newer race format that happens a few times in the season to spice up the game. It's basically a shortened race and the top 8 drivers are awarded with points. So a race weekend with a sprint allows teams to have more opportunities to get more points than usual. Sunday is race day, where the actual race takes place, and all other fun additional activities happen if you're attending a race in person. There are support races, concerts, and most importantly, drivers' parade, which is probably the only time you will see drivers' faces. But for people who are watching the race at home, those activities generally aren't broadcasted. However, race day is important as this is where things truly matter and where accidents can happen that blow your mind.
Science, and he's got tyre problems as well. 7th British Grand Prix victory and a record 7th British Grand Prix.
But not all races are super exciting, and depending on which team you're rooting for, a race could also be depressing. But hey, as part of the most depressed F1 fanbase, I have faith. And besides seeing who's in the front, we are also looking at the points that each driver gets. Points system. There are 2 things that the drivers are competing for, themselves and the team. A world champion refers to the driver that gets the most points as an individual, while a constructor champion refers to the car constructor that gets the most points as a team. This is also where sometimes tension and drama happen, as some drivers risk crashing their teammates just to be in front, or the other way around when the driver is told to back off to let their teammate pass.
Max, let Checo through, please.
I told you already last time, you guys don't ask that again to me. Okay? Are we clear about that?
Only the top 10 finishers of a race get points in descending order. Calendar and tracks. Historically, each season throughout the F1 history has consisted of 7 to 22 races. However, F1 keeps adding new tracks and expanding its global presence by adding more races to the calendars. As of 2024, there are 24 races in a single season. The differences in track designs and geographical locations also create different racing experiences and strategies to consider. Some of the most historically significant tracks that we still see on the F1 calendar include Monte Carlo, one of the oldest F1 street circuits, first held in 1950. It is notoriously difficult to overtake here due to the narrow and twisty layout. Monza, the iconic Ferrari home racetrack where the passionate Ferrari fans, known as Tifosi, create an incredible atmosphere. It is known for its high-speed straights and historic significance. Spa. one of the most challenging and dangerous tracks in modern F1, known for its fast and flowing layout. It has tragically claimed the lives of several drivers, including recently in 2019 F2 driver Antoine Hubert and in 2023 Delano Ventov. And there are also a few more recent additions, include Miami Grand Prix, introduced in 2022, and Las Vegas Grand Prix. The newest, yet the most expensive race in F1, starts at midnight and makes F1 drivers look like Hunger Games tribute. Pitstops. The pit crew are the people who often sit in the garage and watch TVs, and they are responsible for physically maintaining the cars. There are around 20 people in the pit crew, with 12 focusing on changing tires. If they manage to change tires under 3 seconds, they are considered as doing a good job, and people cheer for the drivers. If they mess up, the pit crew takes the blame for letting the whole team down. The fastest pit stops of all time is 1.8 seconds, while the longest pit stop is 43 hours. Tech and regulation. In F1, there are so many fancy terms like aerodynamics, MGUK, CFD, but to keep things simple for now, I'll just talk about a few basics and the broader context of why F1 is a heavily engineering-based sport. Formula 1 cars are some of the most technologically advanced cars on the planet. Teams are constantly pushing the boundaries of performance, material science, and engine development to gain even the slightest advantage over their competitors. In modern F1, aerodynamics is the main performance factor, which refers to designing the car in a way that reduces the resistance of wind for maximum speed, or drag reduction. But most importantly, aerodynamics is to utilize wind efficiently, for purposes like maximizing downforce when needed, and direct wind into different parts of the cars for cooling and preventing engines from overheating. In order to test the aerodynamics of a car, teams would test their cars in the wind tunnel, or through highly accurate computer simulation like CFD software to see how wind flows through the car. These testings, as well as the cost that teams can spend on car research and development, are also restricted to ensure a level playing field. For example, FIA gave Red Bull fewer testings in an attempt to prevent them from achieving better results with higher budget. It is also part of the game for car designers to read between the lines of the FIA technical regulation each year and find loopholes where they can be creative and adjust car designs. Even with stringent guidelines, F1 is famous for giving teams the flexibility to design and manufacture most of their car components. Other motorsports series generally are more homogeneous, such as having standardized chassis and engines, while F1 teams have some options to choose engine suppliers or manufacture their own engines. Tires. Tires wear off and require the right temperature for them to work best. F1 tires are designed to have more grip to the ground when they're warm. So you will see cars zigzagging during the formation laps to warm the tires. Before they start, the pit crew also put tire warmers to make the tires as hot as possible before they drive, so they can get the best tire condition faster. Teams must choose the right combination of tire compounds to suit their track conditions and their race strategy. It's like choosing to wear sneakers or hiking boots when you're going on a long road trip. Each Grand Prix. Each driver generally gets 13 sets of dry weather tires, 4 sets of intermediate tires, and 3 sets of wet weather tires. And the tire allocation changes depending on weather condition or changes in race formats like a sprint race. The slick tires are used in dry conditions and come in various compounds ranging from the softest to the hardest. Each tire has its trade-offs. Soft is the fastest yet lasts the shortest, as it is the least durable, while hard takes more time for it to be fast, but lasts longer. In wet conditions, teams switch to intermediate tires or wet tires, which provide better traction on a damp or fully wet track surface. Choosing the right tire at the right moment can make all the difference in a race. Otherwise, you hydroplane your way into barriers.
Seen a replay of what happened to Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, I crashed.
Flags and safety car. Flags are used to communicate various track conditions to the drivers. There are multiple flags that the track marshals use, but we really only need to know a few when watching a race broadcast. Yellow flag means hazards on track, so cars need to slow down. Red flag means the race condition is really dangerous that the race needs to be paused. After a race is paused, or under yellow flags, green flags will be used to indicate the race starts again. Checker flag is out when the race ends. This is also the least important flag in terms of safety. That's why they let celebrities do the job. The yellow flag is when things get really interesting. When yellow flags are out, they might deploy a safety car, which can be a virtual safety car, in which the drivers line up by themselves, or an actual safety car that drives in front of everyone and no one can overtake when this happens. Both virtual or not, it is the same thing essentially. This tends to be the most annoying thing if you're the race leader, because all the progress you've made against other drivers is wasted. Also, sometimes teams intentionally bet for a safety car situation by delaying changing tires, because this is the only time when changing a tire will not sacrifice too much progress, which is also why people call a pit stop during a safety car deployment a free pit stop. Overtaking strategies. Overtaking is one of the most exciting aspects of Formula One, and drivers employ various strategies and tactics to gain positions on the track. To make overtaking easier, F1 added the drag reduction system, which allows drivers to temporarily reduce drag by adjusting the rear wing angle, similar to how you get speed boost in Mario Kart. DRS provides a temporary boost in top speed on designated straight sections of the track. They also need to be within 1 second distance to the car in front to activate DRS, which is also called DRS range. There's also a thing called the DRS train, which is when multiple cars behind the leading cars are all in DRS range, leaving the leading car at disadvantage. Aerodynamics also plays a role in overtakes, and it might sound weird, but depending on where you are on the track, being close to the car in front can have complete opposite effects. For example, dirty air is when the turbulent air behind a car can significantly reduce downforce and grip for the following car, making overtaking challenging. On the other hand, slipstream can also happen when drivers position themselves closely behind a car to benefit from the reduced air resistance, allowing them to gain speed and potentially attempt an overtake. And the difference between dirty air and slipstream is dirty air happens at corners, because the downforce of the cars is not maximized when stability is needed the most. Slipstream happens at straights, where the cars in front give reduced air resistance to the car behind. Last but not least, enjoy the race. Don't let anyone tell you that you should only watch F1 in some specific ways. For a sport that is so technical, so engineering based, it's nearly impossible for someone to say that they have grasped every single aspect of F1, or that they have memorized the full history of F1 from 1950s till now. You can just enjoy the race by watching it at home, or you could even go to an in-person race to enjoy the atmosphere and train for the same teams and drivers with other fellow fans. One of my favorite things about going to in-person F1 events, in-person F1 races, is to meet other people who are equally, if not more passionate about F1 than I do. You could also dive deep into F1 strategies and be a master in F1 Manager. There are so many ways to enjoy watching F1, and I hope you feel less intimidated after watching this video to learn more about different aspects of F1 from now on. If you enjoyed this video, share it with your friends who love F1, or your friends who are curious about F1. Let me know in the comments below on what made you interested in F1. And remember to subscribe my YouTube channels, follow my social media accounts for more interesting content on Formula One and motorsports. See you next time. Bye!